They say time heals all wounds, but that's not always true. Some wounds don't fade, they just learn to hide beneath polite smiles and tired eyes. Some hearts never fully recover. They simply learn how to beat around the empty spaces left behind. In the quiet, rain-washed town of Weston Creek, there lived a nurse named Evelyn Rourke, calm, graceful, and endlessly selfless. To everyone around her, she was a beacon of strength, a woman who always knew what to do, what to say, how to comfort. But beneath that composed exterior, Evelyn carried the weight of love that once defined her and then destroyed her. Years ago, Evelyn had been engaged to Dr. Mark Leland, a rising star in the hospital world. Mark was brilliant, charming, and ambitious, one of those people who seem born to be admired. Together, they were the hospital's golden couple. Patients smiled when they walked by. Co-workers whispered about their wedding plans. Even the chief of medicine once called them the future of Weston Creek General. But the future never came the way they imagined. When Mark received a research offer from an international medical institute, everything changed. It was the kind of opportunity people dreamed about. Evelyn wanted to be happy for him. But deep down, she feared what distance would do to love. "You'll come back, won't you?" she'd asked one night, sitting on the hospital rooftop under a sky full of city lights. He'd kiss her forehead and said, "Of course I will. This is just for a year. Eve, you'll barely notice I'm gone." But a year became 2. Then silence replaced phone calls. The text stopped, and so did the waiting. Evelyn eventually learned from a colleague that Mark had extended his stay indefinitely. She didn't cry that day. She just stood in the break room, coffee in hand, staring out the window as the rain streaked down the glass. The love of her life had simply moved on. 5 years later, fate played a cruel, poetic trick. The hospital buzzed with news of a new head of surgery, a prodigy returning from abroad, a man who'd published in top journals and earned global recognition. When he walked through the glass doors on Monday morning, every nurse whispered. Every intern looked up. Every heart seemed to skip a beat, except Evelyn's. She was charting vitals in the nurse's station when she heard the familiar voice. "Excuse me, where can I find the ICU schedules?" It was him, Mark Leland, older, sharper, still heartbreakingly familiar. Their eyes met for the first time in 5 years, and time seemed to fold in on itself. He smiled faintly hesitant, almost guilty. She nodded politely and went back to her paperwork. That was all. No tears, no anger, just quiet distance. But fate wasn't done with them yet. It was a slow Tuesday night. The hospital was half asleep, fluorescent lights humming softly over empty corridors. Evelyn stood by the vending machine, waiting for a packet of almonds to drop, when she heard footsteps. "Eve," he said gently. She didn't turn. "It's Nurse Rourke now." He sighed. "I didn't mean for things to end like that." She finally faced him. "No one ever means to break a heart, Mark. They just do." There was nothing cruel in her tone, just truth steady and tired. For a moment, the silence between them was heavier than the years apart. Then the intercom crackled overhead. "Code Blue, ICU. All available staff respond." They ran. The hallways stretched before them, every step echoing off the tile floors. When they reached the ICU, chaos had already unfolded. A young boy, barely 10, lay on the bed, monitors screaming an alarm. The generator had just failed due to a citywide power outage. Evelyn didn't hesitate. Bag valve, manual compression now. Mark moved beside her without a word, their hands working in perfect sync, just as they once had. Every motion, every command, every breath felt like muscle memory from another lifetime. Minutes blurred. Sweat dripped down Mark's temple. Evelyn's voice was steady, commanding, then finally a sound. The boy's heartbeat flickered back on the monitor. A collective sigh of relief filled the room. For a moment, it was just them again, 2 people who used to move as one. Mark looked at her, eyes full of regret and something softer. "You haven't changed," he whispered. Evelyn met his gaze, calm and steady. "You have," she said quietly, "and that's okay." She turned and left the room, leaving him standing under the harsh hospital lights, holding more than just the weight of the night. The next morning, Evelyn sat at her desk filling out patient reports. Outside, the sun had just begun to rise, streaking gold through the hospital windows. For the first time in years, her chest didn't feel heavy. Mark passed by her station, a file in hand. He paused, like he wanted to say something but didn't. Instead, he just nodded respectfully. She returned the gesture, and that was enough. At lunch, Evelyn submitted her transfer request, not out of bitterness, not to escape, but because she was finally ready for a new beginning. When her friend Nurse Clara asked why, Evelyn smiled and said, "Because I finally remembered who I was before him." A week later, she accepted a new position at a children's hospital in another town. On her last night in Weston Creek, she walked through the empty hospital halls one final time. The sound of machines and quiet conversations drifted through the air life, moving forward, just as it always does. She paused at the window, overlooking the city. For a long time, she stood there, watching the streetlights blink below. Then she whispered, "Thank you for teaching me how to let go." The wind outside carried the words away, gentle and freeing. Evelyn didn't mend her heart by finding love again. She mended it by rediscovering herself, by realizing that love doesn't define worth, and that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about learning how to rebuild after you do. Months later, in her new hospital, she laughed again. The sound was lighter now, unburdened. And though memories of Mark still lingered, they no longer hurt. They simply reminded her that she had survived something once thought unendurable. The people around her noticed the change. She was still calm, still graceful, but this time, her peace wasn't a mask. It was real. Moral: you don't mend a broken heart by waiting for the person who broke it. You mend it by becoming the person who no longer needs them. Let's learn the meaning of some words in this story. Vocabulary section. Endure: to go through something difficult and still keep going. Example: Evelyn had to endure years of silent heartbreak before she truly began to heal. Resilience: the strength to recover after pain or loss. Example: her resilience showed not in never breaking, but in learning how to rebuild. Closure: the feeling of emotional finality or peace after something ends. Example: seeing Mark again helped Evelyn find the closure she never got before. Graceful, calm, respectful, and controlled in words or actions. Example: even when she was hurting, Evelyn remained graceful and kind. Regret: a painful feeling caused by wishing something in the past had been different. Example: Mark's eyes showed regret for the choices that had cost him her heart. Distance: when two people stop being close, even if they are near each other. Example: the distance between Evelyn and Mark was no longer about miles, but what had been lost. Acceptance: understanding a situation and finding peace with it. Example: Evelyn found acceptance not when Mark returned, but when she no longer needed him to. Letting go: releasing emotional attachment to something that is no longer good for your heart. Example: letting go did not mean forgetting Mark. It meant remembering herself. Healing: the slow process of becoming whole again after pain. Example: her healing didn't happen all at once. It came in quiet steps day by day. Self-worth: knowing your value, even when others fail to see it. Example: Evelyn rediscovered her self-worth when she chose to start a new chapter without looking back. If you've ever loved someone who broke you, remember this: your story doesn't end with pain, it begins again with healing. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe to keep these heart-deep stories alive. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had to walk away to find your peace? Your journey might just inspire someone else to mend their heart too.